Welcome back to She Dares to Travel. This is the podcast that helps women dare to explore not just the world, but the landscapes within themselves. And I'm your host, of course, Raquella. We are here to dive into stories, tools, and conversations that really inspire you to travel differently, to focus on your travels mentally, physically, and digitally, and to have this courage and curiosity as you're traveling through the world. Now, today's guest is someone whose work beautifully bridges the mind, the body, and the soul, and she's here to help us understand how healing and exploration are deeply intertwined. I'm joined by Natalie MacDonald. Hi.
Hello. I'm great. How are you?
Good. I'm really good. Happy that you're here. Happy that we can connect with everyone. And Natalie is a registered therapeutic counselor. She's the founder of Tideline Wellness, and she's devoted her career to helping people break through emotional barriers and step into their fullest potential. She has individualized trauma informed counseling and a really unique walk and talk therapeutic power session along the shores of Okanagan Lake, which I'm excited to hear more about. But it's really more just about redefining what wellness and connection can actually look like. So, today's episode, you're in for a treat. We are going to dive into topics like how to face and transform a severe fear of flying, which I know some people with this, so I'm intrigued to hear about this. We're going to talk about healing from trauma that can happen during travel, and we're going to talk about some stories and instances that have happened and just how you rebuild your trust in yourself and in the world after a traumatic travel experience happens. And also that mind, body, soul connection and just what stepping into new experiences can be like when you have these three things aligned. We, of course, are a travel podcast, so we are going to dive into Natalie's own travel stories from Australia to Vietnam to her home right here in Canada and how those experiences have shaped her courage and resilience and healing in herself and just how she approaches travel. So, whatever you're doing right now, if you are about to board your first flight, sit back, relax, and maybe you are looking to heal from a difficult experience, or simply you're just daring to dream about your next adventure, but you're a little frozen and you kind of want to know where to begin or how to get over that next step. This is exactly where you need to be. So, Natalie, thank you again just for taking the time to be here and chatting with all of us today. This is the She Dares to Travel podcast, and I'm your host, Raquella Pollock. After spending a decade managing the #1 travel agency in Canada and now working with tourism businesses in risk management, I am here to connect you with women who are taking the travel industry by storm, as well as business professionals with a passion for travel, just like me. We are here to inspire, motivate, and uplift you to not only follow, but plan out your dreams, no matter where in the world they may be. Be sure to leave a review, subscribe, and follow along.
Thank you for having me. I'm incredibly excited to be here today.
Me too. I feel like these conversations are ones that always just end up so informed. And when it comes to travel, it's such a big topic,
Absolutely.
such a big topic. And I just want to dive right into it. I mean, Tideline Wellness is all about helping people break through their mental and emotional barriers so they can live their best life, which
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. And I know everyone, including myself, has mental barriers and blocks that come up. So having tools in our tool belt is really important. I want to know what wellness through courage means to you when it comes to daring to travel.
I think in breaking that down, it's taking a step even when you're afraid to do it. I think that's one of the bigger things is it doesn't have to be a big step. It's just this small one little moment where you decide and you make a choice and you just kind of go for it. And I think it's where it's like it's in the face of fear you go. And I think that that's what it kind of all means is this whole journey, whether it is traveling for the first time, whether it's, trying something new, regardless of what that looks like, even if it's something new on a menu, it's
True.
just giving it a shot and making the choice and seeing how it goes. And sometimes you're going to like it, sometimes you're not, but there's that risk, but you're never going to know how well it's going to go unless you actually try.
So true. And one step could be as simple as just picking the place you want to go.
Yeah.
Picking the place, pointing at a map
Hmm.
and saying, let's give it a try.
Hmm.
Let's give it a try. I really am intrigued by the fear of flying concept.
Yeah.
I actually find so much comfort in flying.
Same.
So right? Like it's
Yeah.
you're unplugged. You have no distractions. You have no cell phone. I get so inspired. I'm like, let's write a book.
100%.
Yeah.
So just to kind of give you a little bit of a background there,
Mhm.
I've been on a flight, I think my first one I was 6 months old, and my mom took me to go see our family in Germany. So I've been traveling since then and have
Mhm.
it's always been very comforting to me. I know this sounds a little odd, but I've always loved the smell of airports
Oh,
because it smells like my
interesting.
mom whenever she would
Oh,
come home because she was a
wow.
flight attendant. Yeah.
Okay. That's comfort.
Yeah.
Unreal.
So it's
Yeah.
if every single time
Huh.
it's like, "Oh, okay, good. We're going somewhere." And I always loved that feeling. But not everybody has that experience. And some people have a real difficulty going into the airports where they're stressful. They don't know how to operate. They don't know what to do. Being on the
Mhm.
plane can be really confining.
Yes.
And I think there's so many different levels of those fears that we can really dive into. Where would you like to start?
I would like to start. I have two examples. I have one actually with some people that I know, and they went on a trip together, and they already have anxiety, some ADHD. There was already stresses, but then of course their flight actually wasn't even a flight delay. It was they didn't have a seat on their ticket, or their travel agent didn't book a seat.
Oh,
So
goodness.
there was no seat
Yeah.
number. So one of them was denied boarding, the other one wasn't. And it was a very stressful experience
Absolutely.
trying to figure out what to do if you haven't traveled a lot on your own, or you usually have somebody else, like a significant other, that is the passport carrier
Yeah.
and they handle everything. And now you're put in a situation where you need to figure it out.
Yeah.
What are some tools to help in those anxious moments where you're completely out of control? Because I feel like that's a fear in itself of losing control at the airport, even
Mhm.
starting there.
I think a big piece of that is almost taking a step back and accepting the thing. There's a high chance that something's not going to go perfectly.
Even before you get to
Even before you
the trip.
even
Yeah.
before you get to the trip,
Mhm.
right? I think that there's so much going into this where it's like you're spending a lot of money. This is it's intense to plan, to pack, to do all of those things. There's so many stressors leading up to actually getting on the plane. I think that's where people need to kind of take a really big step back and start working on getting mentally prepared and reducing the stress from even just from the, hey, I've decided to go on a trip. So, I mean, I'm guilty of it for sure, is getting really stressed about packing.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially as women, we need,
Mhm.
19
Many issues.
many shoes, 19 pairs of underwear for 4 days, as you do.
Naturally.
And then 9 different outfits. Because
Yeah.
what if you feel bloated this one day?
Yes.
What if you're uncomfortable? What
Feels
if
so
you're
seen.
too hot, too cold? Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And so like that, even that part of it,
Yeah.
that's really overwhelming. So I always say start kind of putting what you'd like to bring aside and
Mhm.
then just have it all laid out and then do it over a couple of days if
Yeah.
that's the part that stresses you out. Because what can really end up happening is like when you lay everything out, it can be really overwhelming. And so what I like to do is I'll lay everything out and see how it fits in the bag. And if
Mhm.
it too much, then I have to take some stuff out and be able to
Right.
go. So then I can realign, I
Mm.
can figure it out. Okay, that's good.
Okay.
But once you actually get to the airport, air travel's changed, right?
Thing.
Completely
Yeah.
changed after COVID.
Mhm.
It's not the same as it used to be. So going to the airport isn't the same experience.
Mhm.
I think the problem with having like a designated person when you're traveling is that sometimes you don't feel like you're in control.
Mhm.
So if you and your spouse always travel together and now your spouse isn't there, that can be really stressful because now you're a little bit at a loss, but you don't have the trust in yourself. And then you can't check or gain reassurance from that other person. So I think also it's practicing those moments by yourself as well. So just being able to still have that safety piece of like, okay, I have my person here. Let's learn how to do this by myself.
Okay. And I'm thinking back to what you said, the one step at a time,
Yeah.
even if it was you're just in charge of the passports that one trip,
Yes.
or you're in charge of finding where the gate is right away
Yes.
and then getting settled and know your surroundings.
Exactly.
Okay. I like that.
So you almost have to look at it from like a desensitization piece,
Yeah.
right? So it's okay, let's try this the first time. Okay, now let's go a little bit deeper because that's how we kind of get comfortable and recognize, oh, I can do that. I can do that. And that's how we build that trust with ourselves slowly. But let's say, your gate changes or something big happens or, like the seat doesn't get changed. First thing, take a breath. Just take a breath and take a few and kind of re-regulate your nervous system because you're already heightened if you're going into this experience and you don't like traveling and now you're already stressed, like it's going to be straw that breaks the camel's back and it doesn't have to be a big thing. Gate changes, seat changes, flight cancellations, delays, those things are just part of this experience.
Yeah.
And we want to hope for the best, but we have to kind of prepare that that's a real possibility. So I think it's also accepting the fact that this is going to happen. Just
Totally.
accept it. Because
And then be happy when nothing does happen.
exactly. Because
Yeah.
that's the thing. If you go into this being like,
Yeah.
it's going to be perfect, and then nothing goes right, you've just set yourself up for a very stressful day.
Completely. It's a good reminder to really start from the beginning,
Yeah.
from the very starting point, and you're right, and it's packing, and then it's always that last minute, and if you're starting in that anxious state, it's only gonna get worse.
Exactly.
It will. It's so interesting. I don't even remember a time because 'cause I've traveled so much by myself for work that it just comes like second nature.
Yeah.
So it's such an interesting whenever I hear of other people with these struggles or even one is bag anxiety
Mm.
and that they need to be on the aircraft first
Yeah.
and they get anxiety when they're waiting in line because they're worried that they're going to look like an idiot
Mhm.
putting the bag up. They can't fit it. They're going
Yeah.
to stall everyone behind them.
Yeah.
It is a whole thing.
It's a whole experience.
Yeah. So thinking from it from that context, it's a full experience from the starting point.
Yeah.
And then it's okay. And usually people are fairly nice on planes. Some people are jerks. Yeah, some
But
people are. Exactly.
I think it's funny that you mentioned that because I feel like it's something so small
Mhm.
that actually provides people with a lot of stress.
Yes.
Is just getting their bag and making sure that they're not being an inconvenience to someone
Yes.
else.
Absolutely.
And I feel like everybody needs to hear this when I say this. The plane isn't going to leave unless everybody is there when they were supposed to be. And if it's going to take you an extra 2 minutes to get your bag, then so be it. There's also the flight attendants are there to help and assist if you cannot get your bag up. So if you're stressed and if you're stressed, just take your bag, put it in your lap, sit down, take a minute, wait for people to board, and then try again.
Yeah.
Or let a few people go through and then put your bag up. So then it kind of just decreases that piece and takes
Mhm.
takes it out of the
Rush. I need to go.
stop caring
Yeah.
about the people around you. Everybody is in the exact same boat.
Mhm.
Everybody has to get on the plane.
Yeah.
Everybody has to put their bag up. Everybody has to be settled. And it's just one of those things. It's not your intention to upset someone, and it's someone else's job to be patient.
Absolutely.
They have to, if they're having a problem with you struggling to get your bag up, they have options. Either they can help
Mhm.
or they can stop and just be
And
patient
wait.
and wait. Or the third, which no one really likes, which is usually they make some sort of comment, but it's a them problem, not a
Great advice. Great advice. Just to step back.
Mhm.
And I like that for taking the bag and actually just sit down with it.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
And then if the flight attendant comes by, you better put that up. Yeah, I can actually get it. Do you mind helping? I think it's hard for people to ask for help, though. That's the hard
100%.
part.
All of this is a hard
Yeah.
part. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's also really important to recognize that even when we're having these conversations, all of this is really simple, but it's not easy. It's
Yeah.
actually really hard to ask, to sit down, it's the fear of embarrassment or
Yeah.
shame, or you're looking like an idiot or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And in those moments, it's the overwhelming thought processes that we have and we're in our heads. But at the end of the day, no one's going to remember that moment that you struggled to get your bag up.
Absolutely not. The moment they sit down, they're focusing on
Yeah,
how the person smells next to them.
exactly.
What,
Or what
yeah,
movie they're going to watch,
exactly.
or they're mad that they didn't get their nuts yet. Like
Yeah.
it's not going to be the thing that's going to
Mhm.
remember that.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the highlight of the
Isn't it so true? Remember the girl in 34C? What an idiot. No, it doesn't happen.
No.
I can see how we build it up so much in our heads. And even on the heels of when I managed the travel agency, I had a very eccentric woman And she was so high strung. She would come and visit me. She would book a flight, 6 months in advance. She'd come every weekend to see whether or not something's changed on the
Yeah.
flight and to make sure she still had her seat. And she needed to sit front in the bulkhead. She didn't care how much it cost. She needed that because she could not look at anyone else's heads and she needed to look at a wall for the entire flight.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, man, if it's this stressful, why are you even flying?
Mm.
Like, I actually had that thought,
Mhm.
but then I kind of, and I love your opinion on it because maybe these are the things that she's done to help
Yeah.
herself feel more comfortable.
Those are the tools that she's
Yeah.
come up with. Like, some people are very particular, right? I'm a very particular person.
Yeah.
And
No, not saying
yeah,
that I know you are,
yeah.
but
You
I
know,
agree
you
with
know
you.
I am. But it's just like
I agree.
I'm very particular with
Yeah.
how I like to do things, right? And I've come up with those things for those reasons. I'm usually, usually I'm pretty good, but I get extra patient when I'm in an airport
Yeah.
because I have to be.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm not going, like, it's just one of those parts, but it's those little intricacies. Like, I have to go. My sister would laugh at this. I have to go make sure the gate's there
Yes.
before I
That's very
go
common. Very
before I
common.
go eat food, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do
Yeah.
that. It's like, oh, yes, that it does exist.
It exists.
There's a physical place for me to go.
Yeah.
That's the place.
Yeah.
Okay, now I can, right?
Yeah.
I think
So true.
it's just like that. Check in. Okay, good. We've got it. We're good.
I think majority of people do that
Mhm.
because then you kind of can assess how far, and you're right, it's another tool, which I probably don't realize that I do, but I do it. I see it. I'm like, great, what's around here? Bathroom, do you want to sit? Do you want to go grab a bite?
Yeah.
At least I know it's here.
Yeah.
And then you want to know where the screen is. Yeah, interesting.
And the other one
Mhm.
is also that people can also do is just go show up half an hour earlier than you wanted to, especially if you're a stressed flyer, especially if you like having your time and your space. You're going to be sitting at home for an extra half an hour, or you're going to be sitting in the airport for extra half an hour. But if us getting you through security and just going through that process,
Mm.
which is a very similar feeling to the getting on the plane,
Yes.
well, these are things that you can make adjustments for.
Mhm.
And it just takes one little step back, gives you an extra moment to breathe.
I'm a really last minute traveler, mainly for Kelowna Airport because I know the airport so
Yeah.
well. So I remember one time I went into the office and I was like, they're like, "Aren't you going on a flight today?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm my flight leaves an hour and a half. I'll be
Yeah.
fine." They're like, "What? An hour and a half?" I'm like, "Well, then carry on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go straight
You'll
through."
be fine.
Like worst case scenario, there's a long line. They board 43 minutes before takeoff.
Yeah.
Like it's good.
You're fine.
I got there, TSA lineup of my life. Like I'm talking, if anyone knows Kelowna Airport, it was from the TSA security all the way to check-in, the check-in gates. And I was like, oh no. So I panicked, but then I just started talking to people and I was like, hey, anyone else on the flight in an hour? Yeah, do you mind? I'm just gonna run up just to ask them if maybe I could kind of hop in there.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
That was a shame on me moment though, because
Yeah.
I was like, what do I do? But that was heart rate central. Like this is,
Absolutely.
and then I gave myself the advice I give my mom when she started traveling actually after my dad passed. She was traveling on her own a bit and she was getting a bit worked up. And I was like, Mom, when you travel, everything can get fixed with money.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that that's why you have travel insurance.
Yeah.
This is why. And then you can get your money back. But if you have a delay, be like, okay, I'm just going to need to figure this out. And if it's going to cost me in that situation, if I miss the flight, I'd have to pay for a new one.
Yeah.
And I might miss my meeting.
And I think
Yeah.
you're not wrong. That's the thing. It's like there's always going to be something that's going to happen. And
Mhm.
so you're going to have the shame on you moments. I remember I was flying home from Rome and I was in the Calgary airport. I had to be in the airport for 5 or 6 hours before I got to come to Kelowna. And I'd just done from Europe plane. And I left my passport at the Jugo Juice, like literally at the desk. I went and got my food. I was so exhausted. I left it there. And I was lucky because it was still sitting there. But you just have those moments. I can assure you, regardless of what I do for a living or how much training I have, you're in a full panic mode.
Absolutely.
Of, my gosh, did I forget it in the bathroom? Like, did
Uh-huh.
I drop it somewhere? I went
Yeah.
through all. Oh,
So much panic.
you're going to
So
have
much
those
panic.
moments.
Yeah.
And I think even in those, it's like when you go and you're having a stress response like that, you're going into fight or flight. you're no longer a logical human. And I think
Mhm.
that's a big piece of what people have to recognize. Like, yes, there's anxiety. Anxiety, I kind of like to put that in the category of it being like a clinical diagnosis.
Mhm.
Stress and overwhelm, I feel like everybody feels on a day to day.
Yes.
I have like a clinically diagnosed anxiety.
Mhm.
And so I know the difference of what they
Okay.
feel like because they
Yeah.
feel different to me
Mhm. Mhm.
anyway. I think that was a we're in a panic.
Yeah.
Whoa, what's
Yeah.
going on?
Mhm.
And so, regardless of that, that's where you're going to go
Yeah.
because that is amygdala. That is
How
how
do
your
you
brain's hardwired.
how do you take yourself down after that? So you get your passport
Mhm.
back, you get your bag on a plane, but now you have heart palpitations coming out your throat, and you're like, "I don't know what to do with
Mm.
myself." Like, how do you bring yourself back to grounded when maybe you're 30,000 feet in the air?
Yeah, fair.
How
Okay. So I'm lucky. And I always like to say that I'm lucky because planes feel safe for me,
Yes.
right? Let's say they don't. Let's just talk about that from that kind of perspective where you're claustrophobic, you don't like flying, flying scares you. Flying happens to be one of the safest commercial
Mhm.
travel that you can do, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a piece where it doesn't matter what you choose. You could go for a walk and it has a risk, right? Everything has a risk
Good point.
attached to it. And I think it's just where you go into stats or maintenance or whatever. Stay out of those, stay out of that rabbit hole. That's not going to help. So you can do it like a number of techniques. My favorite thing to say is, I'm safe.
Yeah.
I'm safe. This is okay. I can get through this. This too shall pass. Whatever your grounding statement is, find a few. And if you have anxiety or you're stressed or this is something, what I also recommend is putting some of these things down that on like a recipe card or in your phone so it's easily accessible. Because again, if you're having that anxiety or you're in the fight or flight, now you're not a logical thinker. It's going to be difficult to think about, oh, what about, like, what did that random lady on that podcast say about flying? Like, you're not
Yeah.
going to come up with those. The other piece is you want to practice these things before you get on the flight. Because if you pull out your coping mechanisms for the first time ever, first of all, you don't actually know if they're going to assist you or they're going to work, but it also isn't the time to try and practice. And you're probably not going to get what you need. Like, it has to be a habit, right?
Okay.
It has to be something that you've done before that you know works for you. Okay, so breathing techniques is one of the easiest ones to be able to go through. So if you do a full deep breath in, hold a little bit more air in, and then slow exhale.
Mhm.
I'll do that when I'm actually cycling and I get to the top of a hill because
Mhm.
my heart rate will drop about 10 beats a minute with
Just
it,
from doing that.
just from doing that
Mm.
in seconds.
Okay.
So we're trying to get you out of that fight or flight so we can then do other things.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's one, box breathing, which a lot of
Mhm.
people know about. So I like triangle breathing more. So I breathe in, hold, out, breathe in, hold, out.
Okay.
Rather than box, I don't like holding up out at the
Yeah.
bottom. So that's
Yeah.
not my favorite.
Okay.
So it's also making sure that you recognize some of these things are going to be the things that work for you. So grounding exercises is another one. So if you're sitting down right now, what you can think about is like, okay, so I feel my back in a chair.
Mm.
Okay, I feel my butt in the chair. My legs are crossed right now. Okay, I can feel that. All right, now what's the temperature like? Can I smell anything? Is there water around? Okay, let's take a drink of water.
Mhm.
So it's coming back into your body or even doing a body scan. Okay, where do I feel it? When I get anxious, I call it my protector. And I feel
Mm.
it right in my solar plexus. And it feels like a bunch of scribbles, is how I like to describe it. And so that comes out in those moments. And sometimes it's just there. And I think that's another thing when it comes to anxiety. Sometimes it's just there, but you can function with it.
Yeah.
Same with stress. It's just there, but you can function with it. So,
And are you calling the anxiety your protector?
mhm,
So you're reframing it that it's a good thing to have
yes,
because it's protecting you.
yes,
Oh, I
my
like that.
anxiety is trying to
Yeah.
protect me,
Yeah.
but it doesn't know why sometimes.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you can be really anxious and or scared or whatever, but it doesn't necessarily, so it's like a feelings threat balance.
Mm.
Because you can feel on a 9, but that doesn't mean that the threat is also a 9. It can be a 2.
I gotcha.
And so
Yeah.
that's kind of what we also have to look at when it comes to anxiety or stress or whatever that is. It's like, okay, how can we work with this? And
Mhm.
sometimes it's just accepting that it's just going to be there. There are days, there was a day the other day, if I'm sitting down, my heart rate's probably like 70 to 80. I'm sitting down and it was 115
Oh, yeah.
for no reason.
Yeah.
It's just there. And it's just you just feel it and you continue on. It's okay, well, I can function with this. But not a lot of people have done that work. So another thing when it comes to something like this, where you're on a plane and you don't really know what to do, is somehow
Mhm.
finding a way to distract yourself. So it can come down to music, but like literally just put music in and
Yeah.
an eye mask on and pretend that you're at home. Do a visualization exercise, get grounding meditations, do a body scan meditation,
Mhm.
listen to an audiobook. For people who have ADHD, dual stimulation is always great. So play a game on your phone while you're listening to music. I'll like listen to music that doesn't have words to it and read
Yeah.
a book.
Okay.
So it's still, you still have two pieces of your brain being
Yeah.
occupied, but then you can focus on both at the same time.
Mhm.
But you also have to know yourself as well. So if you really struggle with being claustrophobic or confined, or you have this fear that you're not in control, don't sit at a window seat with two other people. Don't sit in the middle seat next to in the aisle. You want to be somewhere on an aisle because then you have the ability to get up if you want to. If you're feeling stressed, you can walk up and down the plane. I like on long haul flights, I'll always go do a stretch in the back. So you have to really consider yourself
Yeah.
on what feels good for you. Because if you're going to get really stressed and you don't like being out of control, I wouldn't sit at a window seat. Because and then add into the fact, well, what if you have to pee? What if you have to get up? What if you and now I've got
What if
now
they're
because they're
sleeping?
sleeping.
Okay.
And I feel like there is always an understanding of who you are as a person. I love a window, I'll choose an aisle because I want to get up. I want to be able to go pee. Does that mean people are going to disturb me? Yes. Am
Mhm.
I okay with that? Absolutely. But
Okay.
it gives me a sense of control.
Okay. That's great advice.
Hmm.
And it's something so simple because it is very true. The window, I always get stuck in the middle because
Yeah.
my husband loves the window.
Mm.
So he loves to sleep. And then I'm like, this sucks. So I think, but then sometimes we have booked on the longer ones on
Mm.
the threes, the aisle. And then there's someone in the middle, and I'll be like, if there's nobody, great. Now we have a whole row.
Yeah.
If there's somebody, I'll just be like, they split us up. Do you mind getting the aisle? And every time they're so happy because they
Mm.
thought they'd have to do the middle. But it is one of those things. I think one day I'll just stay in the aisle. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's you're right. It's knowing yourself.
Yeah.
It's knowing what you like, what you don't like, how it can impact you, and then what tools you can do realistically.
Mhm.
And I even think the knowledge is power too. I for those listening, queue up episode 38 after this. Her name is Raya Katz, and she's a commercial airline pilot. And she flies the A350. I think she's an A380 now. But I asked her, what would you want to say to people that have a severe
Mhm.
fear of flying? And she said that planes are the safest things. They go through such rigorous training and testing. She knows exactly what to do in any situation.
Yeah.
Any situation. They're so strong. And
Yeah.
she's like, I just want people to know how strong and they could survive blasts from miles away that are rippling. Like they can
Yeah.
survive so much. So I'm like, okay, that's really helpful. So it's almost just having the knowledge. And she even said, ask to speak to the pilot when you're boarding. And if that's going to ask some questions to give you comfort,
Mm.
she's like, we love it. We all do it. I'm like, thank you to Hotel Z Kelowna, Victoria, and Tofino for being our sponsor. You can also save 15% off your next getaway using the code DARES2, DARES 2, the number 2, at hotelz.com. These funky and unique hotels are in British Columbia, and they're going to have you not wanting to leave while you're on your next vacation. Enjoy.
Thinking that reassurance is huge.
Yeah.
Tell the flight attendant that flying makes you
Yes.
anxious.
Yeah.
They are so good. That's what they're there for. That's what they a lot of them like they want to be there. They want to help you. They want to be there to support you to make your flight experience the best that they can.
Yeah.
Right? So, hey, this is my first time flying. I get really anxious when I fly. They'll come on and check on you more often and make sure. I think
Yeah.
that's another piece is being able to recognize
Definitely.
that. I think the other thing that people struggle with is this idea that you're stuck.
Mm.
And there are going to be times where you're in the plane and sometimes you're held on the tarmac for extra reasons that you don't know or
Hours on end.
hours on
Yeah.
end. So it's like it's it's also making sure that you have an array of activities to be able to assist with you. Make sure that you have water, make sure you have snacks, like make sure you have all of the things that make you feel safe and comfortable,
Mhm.
right? If you struggle with textures or you struggle with tactile things, make sure that you have your
Yeah.
clothes that make you feel the best and make sure that you're comfortable. Make sure that all of
Mhm.
these things are kind of taken into account
Yeah.
so that when you have this experience, it happens
Yeah.
and accepting the fact that it is a possibility. But it's also you're in control of your actions and your reactions.
Mhm.
You're not in control of what other people do. You're not in control of what's going to happen. You're not in control of a lot of those things. And that's one of the things that we can be most, reliant on is the fact that there will be change and there are going to be aspects of this where they're going to be out of your.
It's so true. I want to know even on the heels of people that have traveled but had a horrible experience in their destination they've been.
Yeah.
And now it's impacted them mentally to the point where they either don't want to travel ever again. Some of them isolate it to a country and say, well, that happened in this country and I'm never going to go back there. And how you can feel very lost and unsafe when you're away from home.
Mhm.
And I like that thought that you save on the plane where it's like, okay, you bring all the comforts of home. You bring the things that make you still feel home, but how can that work when, and I'll give you an example. It's an awful story I heard, and there was a woman who went on a group tour. She went to Turkey, and they went on some of them wanted to go to a market, so they all daylight went into a market. There was kind of like this pigeonhole or bottleneck rather, and everyone was up against each other, and they were walking through, and she kept feeling somebody pushing up against her back. And she kept kind of looking like, what is going on? She's like, oh my God, this feels so weird. It was a male. It was his private parts pushing up against her. So after they got out of the bottleneck, she felt back and he'd ejaculated on her. And she was mortified. Thankfully, she was with a tour group to help her feel safe again because it was just violating, the most violating, something you would never in a million years think of. Like, we are so fortunate living in Canada that you don't hear stories like this.
Mhm.
But in other countries, unfortunately, something like that, I didn't even think would ever be a conversation. But after an experience like that, how do you mentally strengthen yourself to move forward? I couldn't imagine if she was so alone.
Yeah, I think that would be a whole other experience. I mean, the hard part is it's an assault, right? So
1,000%.
it's a complete violation. You feel exposed, you feel just open, right? And you don't really know what is going on, what's up, what's down. I mean, the hard part is trying to find your space to go back where you're safe. Like
Mm.
as aware as we think we are, I feel like there's a lot of the time where this is real. This is reality. This could happen anywhere. So even if we don't know or recognize that we're not safe or safe, it's like there are going to be these stories, and there's going to be these stories more prevalent in some places than others, right? I think it's starting off by doing your research, making sure, obviously, this isn't something that you can plan for.
Absolutely not.
So you can do your best. It doesn't mean you could be the perfect traveler and it could still happen, right? I think that's another part of that. But I don't want that to have you be afraid to go travel. It's just being awareness and traveling smart.
Hmm.
Because I'm sure she was traveling very smart. She's with a group, she's
Absolutely.
surrounded by people. It's not something, though, that you can control. So after that, find the safe place, do what you need to do to make yourself feel comfortable. Shower, change clothes, burn the ones that you had if you want.
Sure.
But going and like talking to people,
Yeah.
talking to either the person who leads or calling a friend from home, finding immediate counseling if you can. Virtual is always an option while you're traveling away.
Yeah.
You can book in pretty consistently, pretty
Mhm.
quickly with some of those services.
Mm.
But then, honestly, and it's the hardest part, is getting back out there and doing it relatively quickly
Mm.
in a safe way.
Yeah.
Because in those moments, it's like, it's really hard because you don't have the capacity or the capability to just like break.
Mhm.
You have to stay strong
Yeah.
because there is no other option. The only option is to continue forward. And that can be really frustrating and create a lot of resentment for a lot of people because you have to continue on and all you want to do is just but like go back to your hotel room, allow yourself space to feel emotion, journal about it, talk through it, work through it, and process it. Like something like that, especially, that's going to be really hard to process.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend trying to find someone to assist you through that.
Yeah.
But the one experience doesn't mean that that's going to be every
No.
experience. And that one experience doesn't mean it's going to be every country or every place.
And try to still find the beauty in the countries because that was one jerk asshole
Yeah.
person that is sick in the head.
Yeah.
Trying, but I just imagine how hard that would be.
Absolutely.
So
This
yeah.
would be incredibly difficult,
Yeah.
especially as a woman. And traveling alone, there'd be so much fear. If I also want it to be very clear that if you can't, go home.
Yeah.
Like if you can't
Don't feel
continue, don't feel
yeah.
stuck. You are in control of that.
Mhm.
You can get on a plane and you can go home, and that's okay. If you just need to go home because of what happened, that's okay.
Give yourself the grace to do it.
Exactly. Give yourself the grace and continue, but give yourself enough time. Go to therapy, go get some help, go work on this journey again. And then, like everything, start small. Road trip. Do something close. Okay. Now do a safe city, do a safe country that you feel safe in, like maybe even traveling somewhere that you've been before. Okay, now try something new.
Get your power back. Great advice because it can happen with something that you never would
Yeah.
think of that would ever happen ever. You just don't know how you would react in that moment.
It's you hear those stories and then you think, oh, that won't happen to me. You don't know that. And I say that being in situations where those things have happened to me, I'm like, oh, never. No, they happen. And I think the other piece is like, no one's going to prepare you to deal with it. And you have no idea how you are going to handle it. You can think through it and say, I would do X, Y, and Z, no problem. That's not how it goes, unfortunately.
Or it's so easy to give advice to somebody
Yeah.
that's gone through it, thinking, "Oh, I know how I would do it because that's what happened to you, and you can do it. Fuck up,
No.
But it's not. It's so individualized.
Completely.
But I like that. It's feeling safe. What do you need to do in that moment to feel safe
Yeah.
and to talk about it? To go home,
Yeah.
you have options. You aren't don't need to be stuck
No.
by any means.
No.
Yeah, that's great advice. I know you often talk a lot about the mind, body, and soul connection, and I really want to know how that plays into dealing with anxiety and, or uncertainty when traveling.
So I have that belief that the body and mind is intrinsically connected. A lot of people like to almost put like a block between like where I like how they like this, they slice their neck and they just have this little like brain
Guillotine.
body. Yeah. And there's like no connection between the two. It's like there is such an awareness that gets pulled from this. Like we're talking about the uncertainty. Trust your gut. If you don't have that connection to what your gut's telling you, usually it's right. If you're like, I don't like this situation,
Yeah.
listen and run because it's probably the best possible.
When it's listening to the gut, is it like that first immediate thought
Yeah.
that comes to your mind?
Yeah.
Even if it's like it comes out and then you're like, you then consciously are like, no,
Yeah.
that's what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you can even start doing this really easily now,
Mhm.
where every single time you have to make kind of a decision, you flip a coin. So it's okay. What do I want for dinner? Okay, I want tacos or pizza. Flip the coin, and let's say it lands on pizza. Don't want you to. What I want you to do is go. Okay, how did I feel? Not what did it land on, but what's the first feeling? Like if you
Was it like,
yeah, exactly. Like if you go and it lands on pizza, and
yeah.
oh, I kind of want tacos, then get tacos. Like that's the gut.
Okay,
And
okay.
if you flip the coin, you're like, and it lands on pizza.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's what we're doing. And so that's the muscle that you want to
Mhm.
build, is being able to recognize, okay, cool. No, it's
Yeah.
this is what feels good.
This is what's aligning. This is what direction I should go. And
Yeah.
it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
It's okay. And even when it comes to travel, there's been situations with our families wanting to travel, and there's been countries that they want to go to that
Hmm.
others don't.
Hmm.
And it's a hard no.
Yeah.
But the one is like, well, let's go there. You love it. I loved it. It'd be great. But for whatever reason, they're like, I truly do not feel that I will have any fun or be
Perfect.
comfortable. And I'm like, well, then,
Listen to that.
yeah, exactly. Good
Listen
for
to
you
that.
for saying that.
Right?
Like,
That's the thing. I've listened to people say that, well, my family really wants to go here, but I don't really
mhm.
want to go with them. And, I
Yeah.
think it's that fear of disappointing people, it's that
Yes.
fear of missing out or all pieces. And that's fine. But then it's again up to you to make a choice. Either you're going to go, and if you have the worst time, well, first of all, if you've already thought you're going to have the worst time, you're probably going
Game
to have
over.
the worst time, right? It's all about how you're thinking about going into it. But if you're gonna go, then make the best out of the opportunity. But if you're going to not go, you also have to recognize that you're allowed to have feelings of missing out and regret and all of those kinds of things. Feel a lot of the time people only believe they can have one emotional experience about something, but feelings are complex, right? This is a complex feeling. You can be happy and relieved that you didn't go on the trip and be sad that you didn't go on the trip. Those things can be true at the exact same time. You can hold space for both. And I feel like if someone says, I've made this decision, I can't feel that way, well, that's also part of the mind body connection.
Okay.
You've now told yourself you're not allowed to have an emotional experience. Emotions don't always mean anything,
Which is a wild concept.
right? But they also are just there.
It's very true. It is. That's when they talk about gut health and they
Yeah.
say how important it is.
Yeah.
And you got your bad bacteria and your flora and fauna and all that stuff. But it's true. It goes a long way, especially when talking about anxiety and how your gut impacts
Yeah.
anxiety and sleep. And
So now take
yeah,
all that into consideration as well. So now we've got jet lag. So now
mhm.
you're probably low sleep. You're not in a routine that you're used to. You're not eating the way that you usually
You're eating
eat.
high carb, plain food, midnight.
And it's like you've totally messed up your systems. You've
Mhm.
totally adjusted everything. You might be eating cuisine you're not used to. So your whole body's out of whack. Do you not think that's going to adjust how your headspace works?
I never thought about that. Yeah.
Because if you're going into this and now you're low sleep and you're stressed and you're not even eating properly,
Mhm.
that's going to increase inflammation. That's going to increase cortisol levels. That's going to, increase the stress, increase all of these pieces that you're going to have to deal with. Right. And now, add in like the fatigue and the not eating piece are usually the biggest ones that are going to add to the stress. You're going to have less patience.
Totally.
Completely. Well, my purse is filled with snacks for a reason when I'm traveling.
Like Doritos?
It's a range. I like to, upgrade.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm gluten free.
Okay.
So I have
So you
gluten
really
allergy.
have to,
So
yeah.
yeah, because I went on a flight. I was coming back from Australia and I didn't really bring anything with me. I had my normal couple, but
Yeah.
I was going to get fed. Well, it turns out I didn't have a gluten free meal because it had changed bookings somehow,
Okay.
and the gluten free piece didn't go.
Yeah.
The flight attendant was lovely. He found me just an array of gluten-free snacks.
Oh,
It was the sweetest thing
that's
ever.
yeah.
But, it just made the difference. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I feel like people don't consider how the lack of sleep, the time change, and all of those
No,
pieces
I never
affects
thought
their
of it.
mental health.
Never thought of that.
Yeah.
It is interesting, and I always joke when people are like, "Oh, the flight's 9 hours." I'm like, "Well, you break it up."
Mhm.
Your first hour, they're gonna feed you within an hour,
Yeah.
which is wild because if you're going to Asia, it's a 10:30 PM flight.
Yeah.
Without fail, in an hour, they wanna get you fed. But you don't have to even accept the meal
No.
if you listen to your gut and are like, "Actually, we're eating at the airport. I don't need to eat this
Yeah.
because it's just gonna send me in a tailspin. I'll keep the bun,
Yeah.
eat it in 5 hours, call it a day."
Exactly.
Right?
You can bring your own meals with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I bring my meals with me.
You just have to eat it before you land if there's meat,
Mhm.
right? Or dairy?
Yep. Like
Oh,
that,
yeah.
I bring it with me.
Yeah.
So then I don't have to work. It depends on where it goes.
Yeah.
But like, then I don't have to worry about it.
Great idea.
And then it's done.
Mhm.
And that's, I think, the other piece is people feel like they have to be reliant on some of these things. You can make this
Yeah.
yours. It gets to be yours. So make
Mhm.
it yours. Just consider that you're around another human.
Yeah, don't bring a banana. Or what did someone do? I think it was like a Subway sandwich, and you know that smell? And
Yeah.
it's like it opens up in the whole plane, and we're all like,
Or just like,
"We don't want your onions."
yeah, don't bring fish
Yeah.
or, don't do that kind of stuff.
Oh, it'd be awful.
Mm.
Eggs with garlic.
Yeah. And I think also, we can really take the let them theory into
Mm.
consideration. If you haven't read that book,
Follow Mel Robbins on
yes.
social media and let them everything. I just love it.
Yeah,
It's
let
fine.
them. Oh,
Let them.
love it. Love
Yeah.
it. If you
So simple.
haven't, do it because
Yeah.
it's honestly such a huge game changer. Also, I listened to the audiobook because then I
Mhm.
can do it while I'm cycling. Just love listening to her talk. But
Yeah.
she had one of the stories that she had mentioned in it is she was on an airplane and this guy behind her was just open mouth coughing,
Mm.
which is gross.
Yeah.
But I mean, you've seen some of the people. I was on a flight once where a lady literally took her pants off and was sitting in the flight with a blanket covering her without her pants on. That
My God. Okay, I don't
wild.
have you beat, but I can match that,
Yeah.
okay? Toenails being clipped from Hong
Oh,
Kong to Vancouver.
no.
Yeah, and it was like a couple rows to the left. I was
Oh,
in the middle on the end or the aisle, and I just remember hearing click, click, and I'm like, "What the hell?" I look over, sure enough, feet off, toenails going.
wait.
Like, planes are so disgusting.
Yeah, like,
There's
please wear shoes.
always
Yeah.
were
How
I know.
people walk around, like, barefoot
Used to be that person.
socks?
I didn't realize. Yeah, I didn't realize how gross it
Don't
was.
do that,
Yeah.
especially, like, think about, like, you go to the bathroom
Mhm.
and it's turbulent.
Mhm.
There's gonna anyway,
Yeah.
let's move on that. But so, but the let them theory
Yeah.
is, okay, you've got choices. And I
Mhm.
think that's what I like. You can say something, you cannot say something, but if you don't say something, then you have to let it go and just release it.
Yeah.
Just, okay, what can I control? Okay,
Yeah.
I can't control this dude who's open mouth coughing.
Mm.
What can I control? How can I take care of myself?
I'll say something.
So she did.
Oh, okay.
And the guy didn't do anything different.
Mm.
And so she literally wrapped her scarf, put on like her headphones really loud, and wrapped her scarf around her face. And she's like, well, that's all I can do.
Yeah.
So, and then she's like, okay, well, then I'm in control if I get sick or not. So, taking extra rest after, making sure you've got like
Mhm.
your echinacea and your vitamin C and all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And
Hmm.
making sure that you're hydrating and doing what you can.
Let them.
Yeah.
Let
Some people.
It's such a great it's so simple. Yeah, she's done a great job portraying
Yeah.
everything that Mel
100%.
Robbins. So talk to me about your travels. I mean, I was very impressed to hear Australia, New Zealand, Vietnam,
Yeah.
which I'm going to Vietnam in February. I'm so excited. So excited. Finally, we're getting back into travel after a year's hiatus,
Yeah.
it feels. So really excited. And you mentioned Rome before. Like, where have you been? Is this all for fun? Is this for like
Yeah.
work? Thank you to this episode's sponsor, Kentucky Holidays. Let me tell you, I'm speaking from experience. I have traveled on these tours and I have seen the world in a group setting and made lifelong friends because of it. Check out the link in the episode description so you can find out their last minute deals, their promotions, and where they can take you around the world. You do not want to miss it and you will have no regrets. Happy travels.
So
I know you cycle. Is it races?
yeah, so I did a lot of traveling growing up. We were very, very lucky to get to do that. So we would go to Maui was one of our main, and we would go to Switzerland because that's where we had a family. So I've been there, I've been to Germany, London. My sister and I did a really cool trip where she actually did 7 weeks and she did a lot more than I got to, but I got to do 3 weeks with her, which was so
Oh,
fun.
okay,
So we
cool.
did Greece and Italy together.
Nice.
I only got to do part of it. And yeah, did Vietnam, lived in New Zealand for a while, was in Australia for a while. I'm trying to think of like all the places, but those are kind of
The main one.
main
And were
ones.
you working in Canada while going on these trips? Were you working there, I guess, when you were living in New Zealand?
Living in, so okay, so then the other thing was like races took me.
Gotcha.
So I
Okay.
did a half Ironman. My first ever half Ironman I did in Busselton in Perth.
Oh, cool.
So that's kind of what started that whole journey. So
Yeah.
I was there and then I got to stay with this beautiful family for 2 weeks. It was so I'm forever grateful for them. And then we have in Cronulla in Sydney, and so I got to stay with them for a long time, which was, again, very
Cool.
lucky. Yep. And then I went to New Zealand and found a girl on Facebook Marketplace, and we traveled the whole North Island
What?
together in a van.
You
Yeah.
found her through what? Like match
Basically, just
Yeah,
went on
how?
a Facebook Marketplace,
Yeah.
and she was looking for someone to travel with, and
That's so
yeah,
random.
I know.
Wow.
Wild. So
Yeah.
the other thing when I so I was telling people about this experience that I wanted to go on, and I think this is what was really cool.
Mhm.
So this gentleman who owns Hoodoo Adventures in Penticton,
Oh,
I was
Goody.
connected with him,
Mhm.
and then he connected me with his best friend and cousin. And basically, I stayed in the best friend's back shed that had a bed and like a kitchenette. So
Okay.
I was their shed monster for 2 weeks, is what they called me. And it was the coolest experience, like, they took
Wow.
me, like, fishing in, like, Thames and, like, the Coromandel, we went to like, it was just this incredible experience
Yeah.
where you get to be with the locals, and I ended up, like, connecting with the cousin, went to a barbecue, and I ended up meeting my, at the time, boyfriend.
Okay.
So he and I were together for,
Yeah.
like, over a year. Yeah, so we did some really cool
Mhm.
things. So we got to go, do the can it was
Cool.
there's just some really cool experiences, and it was a lot of just
Yeah.
saying yes and getting out of my
That's
comfort
exactly
zone.
what's going through my brain.
Yeah,
The amount of times you had to say yes in order to have these
yeah,
experiences. And it is like the epitome of daring to travel because it's
yeah.
so many unknowns. And even the like, how do you know she's not a serial killer on Facebook
You
Marketplace?
don't.
Yeah.
And, like, we ended up picking up another guy who is from Canada. He did some of, the traveling with us too, and, then I ended up going to Wellington because I had met a lady named Margot at the Bustleton race, and she said, "Hey, if you're ever in New Zealand, come say hi." So I ended up staying with her for a month.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
just it was just
Okay, and what age are you here? 'Cause and how long were you there?
so this was 2018.
Okay. And you were there for like a year? No.
So I was back and forth all over the show
Okay.
from 2018 to COVID 2020. So I was in Australia, and then I was in New Zealand, and then I had come back. I was in New Zealand, and then I said sure to going to Vietnam for 2 weeks
Mhm.
with Alex, and who was my boyfriend. Then I met my best friend in Australia, went back to Australia for her wedding, and then came back to Canada, literally went back for 2 weeks for my birthday, came back to Canada, and then I moved in October
Oh,
of 2019.
and moved back to Canada.
Moved back to, New Zealand.
Zealand.
Yeah.
What brought you back to Canada? Was it COVID?
I just wanted to work. I wanted to, like, work. It wasn't I had kind of, like I was kinda tapped out on money at that
Yeah.
point, so I came back to Canada to work for the summer, so New
Were you kinda,
Zealand.
like, doing some cash jobs here and
Yeah,
there?
so I
Yeah,
worked at
okay.
restaurants and
Yeah.
just kinda did some of those things, and then I was supposed to get a job in New Zealand the first time around, and I was supposed to be a project coordinator with Margot,
Okay.
and it ended up just getting pulled. Like, the Friday, they offered me the job, and by, like, the Monday, they pulled the position.
Gotcha.
So don't really
Hmm.
know what happened there,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, so that was just kind of
That's cool. What an experience.
yeah, so Margot actually, she had just gotten surgery and couldn't do one of the races. And she asked me if I wanted to go do this trail ultra relay around Mount Ropehu, Ring of Fire. One of the most insane experiences of my life.
Wow.
But I did 21K of this. And like the gentleman, his name is Mike, who picked me up. He picked me up in a Maserati. So I'm gonna drive for I was so
Through the race?
he picked me
Oh,
up to
to
go
go.
down and
Oh,
then drove back. So we got
yeah.
to drive together in the
That's great.
Maserati. It was just like, what is my life?
What
I even remember the first time I got to Australia
Yeah.
because I stupidly did Kelowna to Vancouver,
Mhm.
Vancouver to Brisbane, Brisbane to Perth,
Oh,
like
okay.
straight.
Oh, wow.
Like I didn't. That
Long.
was a terrible idea. I don't
That's
don't
like
recommend.
24 hours in planes
Basically, yeah,
plus your layover.
yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah.
But I remember getting to Australia and being like this family lived on the water. It was just wild. But I remember going for this walk,
Yeah.
and I'm walking back, and it was just sunrise, and all of a sudden, like a meter away, there's a dolphin in the water
Oh,
popping out. Then all of a sudden, these parrots just fly, and then a kangaroo drops by. I'm like, what is this place? Like, this is not real.
so amazing to have those moments, though. Like, where am I?
Yeah,
You're in an
what is
island in the middle
this?
of nowhere.
It's
That's what you're
nuts.
doing.
And then I ended up, going from Australia to Vietnam, and
Mhm.
the culture shock. Like, I couldn't eat
Yeah.
properly for 3 days because it
Oh.
was so different,
Mm.
right? You go from Australia, so it's chill and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
to lots of noise, lots
So
of
much noise.
smells, so much heat, pollution. We went to Ho Chi Minh first,
Mhm.
so it was just
Yeah.
so busy and dirty and just
Mhm.
and you're just overwhelmed and overstimulated. And so honestly, you just like I'm one of the people that want to immerse myself into the culture as much as possible.
Yeah.
I literally just had to find like basic food to eat. So
Mhm.
okay, let's just do this
Yeah.
and then go from there. So
Interesting.
yeah, so did that.
Always interesting with the culture shocks
Mm.
and, like, mentally preparing, but there's so much to unpack with everything you just said.
Yeah.
Because how do you even mentally prepare for that type of journey?
So, funnily enough, I actually had incredibly bad social anxiety and really, really struggled with it for a lot of years, probably more so. So, I had 3 concussions, and then I had
From racing or
just from
general
just I had
life?
one from judo, one from basketball, and the last one was in gym. And
Okay.
one of the kids threw the ball hit me in the head, my head hit the wall. Yeah,
Yeah.
not great.
Okay.
So, and then I got all the wrong information. So they're, oh, go sit in a dark room for 2 weeks and you'll be fine. And that's actually what kind of disrupted my whole brain chemistry because that's not what you do.
'Kay.
But that didn't come out until later. Yeah. So then I really struggled to connect with people. I really struggled to had an incident first year university that really rocked my world a bit. And so coming out of that it's just one of those things where I couldn't go to parties. Like I really struggled to be around people. I couldn't give people hugs. I only would do handshakes. Like it
Mm.
was just not a thing. Honestly, it was just this moment. Where I was like, I just have to do this. I just have to go
Was it like approving yourself?
describe that. I think it was just more like I knew I needed to go to Australia.
Okay.
And that was always like I had done a project in grade 4 on the Sydney Opera House and I just
Mm,
needed to go do
okay.
that.
And so it's
Just be
almost
there.
like that power or that pull
Mm,
was more powerful than your social anxiety
yeah,
or fear. And
100%.
technically with social anxiety, I mean, you can go to Australia, but yeah, you don't have to talk to people if you don't want to.
No,
It's really the experience of yeah,
100%. So
I see.
it's taking it kind of
Mm.
one step at a time, and I was so lucky when I went to so after my race, I go to Cronulla, and I end up getting connected with this guy named Josh Musket. Everybody calls him Musket, and I should send you a picture of his profile picture on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's wild. Like, dude with goggles. And so he says, hey, a bunch of us are going to
Yeah.
go for drinks. Do you want to come with us? I said, sure. I said, okay, great. Oh, yeah, let me pick you up. Great. Perfect. So he picks me up and hey, so I just got off work. Like, I got to take you back to mine so I can shower and stuff. I'm like, great. Like, that's the vibe. Like, this is someone with crippling social anxiety. And this is what
Yeah, goggle boys coming to get you. Great.
so then I also hear this story later. Well, Rachel, who's one of my best friends, this is the time we met because he had texted her to say, hey, I asked for this girl from Canada. She just needs a friend. And she's like, oh, that's good. And she's, no, not like that. It's not like that. She just needs a friend. So she comes over. And of course, now there's this beautiful woman. And
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
And we end up started talking about fishing.
Random, okay.
And both of us love fishing. And that was it. She's fishing buddy in my phone.
Oh, that's cute.
We have been best friends ever since that moment.
That's cool.
I just have, and then they introduced me
Mhm.
basically to my family out there. So they're my whole little
Yeah.
wonderful community. And it's really heartbreaking because I don't get to go there all the time.
Yeah.
But it's just, I miss them like crazy.
It's amazing how, again, that it's the saying yes. And
Yeah.
it's that, well, let's go. If I feel uncomfortable, I can leave.
Exactly.
I don't have to be here. I and
No.
make up an excuse and just go.
Exactly.
But you just never know. And I think that's the thrill of travel.
Yeah.
That's what it's always been for me. It's that unknown. It's that who am I going to meet? What connections will I have? You know, my mother in law, she's traveled, I think, countries or something, majority solo.
Yeah.
And she asks locals the best questions. And she's who we're going to go to, my husband and I go to Vietnam with. And she's been before. So I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But she'll just randomly start talking to people on the street and just being like, she'll talk to someone that's busking and be like,
Mhm.
so what's your story? What are you doing here? Like, just
Be genuinely curious.
so curious. And I think that helps with a lot of the fear and anxieties too. It's being curious. It's that openness to say, well, who are these people and how do they live? And I'm not trying to bring my culture to you right now, but like I want to
Know how you
yeah.
I think
Oh,
that's
I love
it's really interesting to kind of see it from a really different perspective.
Mhm.
Like we always like we grew up, my sister and I, obviously getting to have this experience.
Mhm.
We also were always taught that it was a privilege. We recognize that not everybody else got to do
Yeah.
that. So we always took traveling almost very seriously. And because we had to always dress up because we were on in case we got bumped to first, we had to be able to
Mhm.
present well. We had to behave.
Stand by
We did some, not
because
a
of the flight
ton.
attendant.
Yeah, but there were moments. I
Mhm.
remember my dad when I was in grade 10, my mom put her back. My dad and I went together to Maui,
Mhm.
and we got there 8 a.m. and we got the last flight to Maui because we just kept getting bumped and two people just didn't show up. Right. Very
Okay.
used.
Yeah.
Very, very used to weird traveling. So we would always learn things. Like that's what we did. When we went to anywhere, we would go to museums, we would go on the tours, we would learn about the place that we were going to.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
find it's an uncomfortable experience to ask a local, but ask the locals. They know where the stuff is.
Yeah.
They want
Usually have a lot of pride.
yeah.
They're like, "Oh my god," like, I love talking about with out of towners to Kelowna. I'm
Yeah.
like, let me tell you what you need to do."
Let me tell you
Yeah.
right? And I think that's another thing is if you can find a way to get the local experience or find a way to talk to people or just you create a different experience for yourself. Like, I don't know, even like going to Toronto. If you're going to Toronto to go to Toronto, you'll find things to do, but you're never going to find it as if someone who grew up in Toronto, they'll be, oh, let's go do this thing. You won't even know it existed unless they were there. I mean,
Yeah.
and when my sister and I went to Europe, because we're so similar how we travel, we did the same thing. We did this incredible tour in Athens together, but we ended up just walking down the street one day and found this like random Greek, whatever it was, like some musician, and we just like went. It was odd, but hey,
Why not?
we could have hated it, we could have liked it,
Yeah.
but and I think
That's the beauty of travel.
exactly. I think
Mhm.
that the other piece is like you have to curate the travel to what you like,
Mm.
but curate the people that you're going with.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to go on a very educational experience
Mhm.
and these people want to sit by the pool
Oh,
all
it's
day,
different.
it's different. I think that's where it's like, okay, we need to have space for both.
Learn who people are very quickly when you travel.
Yes.
Very
Very
quickly. And I
quickly.
think you're right, a very key thing to feeling safe
Yeah.
when you're traveling
100%.
because there's so many different types of so many different types. So for somebody that really is listening and that just feels, this is all great, but the world still is too big. And they want to build their confidence when it comes to travel. What is a very small practical first step for them?
Hotel in your city or the city next to you,
Mhm.
or find an experience around.
Mm.
Do a day road trip.
Yeah.
If you could do like I mean we're in Kelowna. You
Mhm.
could drive to Nelson and stay in Nelson overnight and see what you're doing,
Yeah.
make a little trip and then come home, and it's relatively easy. It doesn't have to be big, doesn't have to
Yeah.
be another country, and build your comfort level.
Mm.
There's so many places to see.
Oh my.
And
So
there's so many places in just like we're in British Columbia. In just British Columbia, there's a whole
Mhm.
different type of human being that lives across, across. I mean,
All
totally-
yeah,
yeah,
from the north to the south of BC,
we're
very
in
different
range
people.
of human.
I love it.
It doesn't have to be this big, let's get on an airplane, let's go. I find the other part, people talk about how like people, so many people can travel. Well, if you look at me, I won't go to Vancouver. Really don't go down there much. But if I'm going to Vancouver for 4 days, that's Australia ticket. That's the
Gotcha.
equivalent.
Yeah.
So I just pick and choose where I want to go. So that's the other
Mhm.
piece. But then building up that feeling of like, okay, here I'm going, I'm packing. I could go. I remember like I was living up in Penticton up until 2 weeks ago.
Mm.
I won a giveaway in West Kelowna, and I'm living in Penticton. It was so nice, and it felt like you're getting away.
Yeah.
I got an Airbnb for 2 nights, like with West K Exotics, and
Okay.
I got a Porsche. It was
Listen, you and these amazing cars on.
I don't know, they're just it's manifesting.
I love it.
Every single time I turned that Porsche on, I was like,
It's a good car. It's a great win. Wow.
I know, I was so I never
Yeah,
win anything.
that's
very
exciting.
But yeah, I mean, like that was the thing. It was
Yeah.
a curated experience for 2
Mhm.
days. It was great.
40 minutes from home.
Literally.
Yeah.
So it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be this
Mhm.
magical, huge
Building those
whatever.
consistent, and like you said, what it was like a muscle or
Yeah.
reflex, building the reflex of
Yeah.
what it's like to travel. Things can go wrong. It's going to be okay. The world's not going to implode with it.
And then you're gonna know, okay, 7 days isn't enough. 2 weeks is too
Mhm.
much. 10's pretty good. You have to learn what feels good for you. I went last 2 years ago to Australia for a month.
Yeah.
I gotta go watch my niece being born, which was a wild.
Oh, you're in the room.
This was in her apartment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
With a bath with like a pool.
Yep, with the pool, with everything.
I've
Literally.
only seen that in the movies.
Yeah. It was wild.
Now that's daring to travel,
Yeah.
everyone. New type of tour that you go on.
Yeah, that is
Watch births.
that is definitely a new tour. So that was cool.
Yeah.
And it was great because I was there for a little bit and I got to did a race in Bustleton. I went and did a half Ironman, and got to reconnect with some people that I really love. And it was just such a cool thing. But that's one of those things. I own my own business, so there's a lot to take into account there.
Yes.
So you
Yeah.
have to plan for the fact that I'm not getting paid for a month, and you gotta save up,
Mhm.
and you gotta pay rent and do all those things. And
Yeah.
it's just this.
It
Just take
all comes together.
exactly.
And that's the preparedness, I
Yeah.
guess, right? That knowledge and prepared. So talk about your business. You've got so many exciting things happening right now.
Yeah.
Talk about Tideline Wellness. Give us the scoop.
The scoop.
Who do you need to see? Who needs to check you out?
So honestly, I have this incredible team of counselors. So we have virtual and then we have in-person sessions. So you can be in North Vancouver, Penticton, Kelowna. We offer the in-person. Um, we've got virtual, so you can be across Canada. And with the way that our registration works, we can also accept some US as well.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Well, and I love that you said, I'd
Yeah.
never even thought of that when traveling, but if you're in a tough spot
Yeah.
and you need to book a virtual
Yeah.
with your therapist,
Exactly.
very
And I think that's the other thing. Utilize the service. Like my team has the ability, you
Mhm.
can book and you can be in Toronto, you can be across the world. You can
Absolutely.
make those adjustments in order to still get the help that you need as you're going and as you're living your life.
Mm.
So, I mean, that's the thing. It's really important to find the good fit for you. So,
Yeah.
we have a range of people that have a range of experience, and I think that's the thing. Book a consult. You can book
Mhm.
a consult with every single person on the team. It's free,
That is great advice.
right?
Yeah.
I book the reason why I have them, and I'll explain this to people,
Mhm.
is it's not about me, it's about you. Am I a good fit for you? And I say that usually within the first session. Listen, you might not like me, and that's okay. But let me know because then I can either refer you into someone else
Mm.
that is on my team, or we can find someone that's a better fit for you. And you might have that, and I might say, actually, I don't know if this is within my expertise, but like, hey, Rita, Heather, Joanne, Steven, like everybody has their own niche.
I think it's so important to know that it's okay
Yeah.
to pick a different therapist.
Yeah.
Because again, I think the theme of this really is you don't have to feel stuck
Mm-mm.
because there's so many options and choices, especially with that too, that I totally hear you that you need to interview. You
Yeah,
need to think of them as like your employee now.
yeah.
So it's like, who do you want to work with that resonates the best with what you're needing?
And I think it's also,
Mhm.
like, what's really cool about, my team is, like, if I'm working with someone or, like, a woman, for example,
Mhm.
who's over the age of 50, who's dealing with a life transition, and, like, I can work with her, but if she's disconnecting with something, I can send her to Joanne
Yeah.
for a few sessions so that, they can work together because that's her expertise.
Mhm.
Or send to, Rita, who deals with, like, body and GLP-1 and, like, dysmorphia, those kinds of things, because they all have their own specialties. So I think that's another piece is going on and reading about what they offer. It's really neat, actually. Stephen offers sessions in Mandarin
Oh,
and works with a
okay.
lot with, like, international students. And
Yes.
then even in North Vancouver, Heather and Sean have a death cafe that you can go to talk about grief.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
And then there's Jay Taylor in Penticton, and she works with me, but we both offer the walk and talks.
Mhm.
So people who have ADHD really like those. The younger kids really like those, being able to have that connection. Because some people, like therapy can be really clinical. Sometimes that's just not the way that someone operates.
Mhm.
And so it's also finding the practitioner that works for you, but finding the type of therapy that works for you and realizing that we're here to guide you on your journey, but we're not here to do the work for you. We can't. And I've had moments where someone has said, "Oh, I wish that the therapist would go deeper with me." Okay, sometimes you're not ready. And when we try or do our best, you just are off to
Mhm.
it. So you also have to decide how much you want to go into, how deep you want to go into. So that's, that's partly Tideline. And Tideline now, like I've just moved to Kelowna, so we've
Mhm.
opened up the Kelowna office, which is really great.
Congrats. Very
Thank you.
exciting.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to get to be here. So now just building up my client list out here. So I do that. And then I also worked with businesses doing consulting as well with their mental health and wellness. And then I've just also started up with this really incredible startup company. And so I'm the head of their sports division and I work with implementation of this emotional fitness course, which has been just researched for the last 30 years by this incredible woman named Janice Taylor. And so she's created an AI platform around it to help people become just more emotionally fit and work. It's the foundation of your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, and your physical health.
Mhm.
And it's just such a beautiful concept. So if you ever want to go do some more
Sounds
research
like it.
onto that, it's Wilson 4Q.
Okay.
That's the new little AI software.
Very cool. It's exciting, and I think ever since 2020, it forced us to slow down, but it allowed all of us to really actually talk more about mental health
100%.
and the importance of it. And I look back at family members that, bless them, they're past now, but I just think if they'd only made it to now, I feel like there would have been so much more support for
Yeah.
things that they would have needed mentally because they just you see people that are struggling, you don't really think much of it prior to then, and now it's just so the workplace is talking about
Yeah.
it. The intelligence people need, like
Yeah.
it's all so important for
100%.
all aspects of your life and how you move throughout.
Well, that's what I think is really cool about our team as well, is we also offer those lunch and learns and those workshops that so we can go and be able to go in and help more people than just a one-on-one session, which is really nice. To talk about the COVID, which was a very interesting time for me. I was living in New Zealand. We were getting very different news than Canada.
Mhm.
And my mom was like, "Nope, you're getting on a plane and coming home." And 2 hours after my plane left is when New Zealand announced their lockdown. So, I just got out.
Literally just made it. Yeah.
I would have been stuck in New Zealand with 9 roommates, and 7 of us shared a bathroom. Yeah, it would have been a great time. So
Wow, wow,
then
wow.
that was that. Unfortunately, I also had to leave my partner. But then I ended up coming back to Canada and I did a concussion management course. And then I started doing my honors year in Australia because
Yeah.
I wanted to go do my master's in clinical psych in Australia. But what we found was okay, nothing was opening up. This is actually more serious.
Mhm.
So I actually started my diploma in counseling stupidly at the same time I was doing the honor
Ah,
year. So for about 4 months, I was doing 2 degrees at the same time,
holy,
training for Ironman and working at Wing Frida in Penticton.
holy.
Yeah, we were busy.
Very.
So that, I have to have some gratitude
Yeah.
for what happened. It's like making the best out of a bad situation, which is kind of where Tideline Wellness started. And
Mhm.
and funnily enough, Rachel and I had talked about opening a coffee shop one day, and Tideline was one of the names I'd come up with when I was in Australia.
Yeah.
So there's even a travel connection to that.
Between, yeah,
But I always felt like it sounded too much like a restaurant.
timeline. Yeah, I guess.
So that's kind of
Oh,
where the
amazing.
name originated.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just been
It sounds
an
very
evolution.
unique. It sounds I love the walk and talk idea. I love the idea that you're catering to who people are
Mhm.
because you're right. It can be very clinical. It can be very go lie on the couch, here's
Yeah.
a tissue box, pour out your feelings. But sometimes people may want that. Maybe they want to be on a phone call. Maybe they want to be walking. Maybe
Yeah.
they want to be at a death cafe.
I
Like
have
there's so many, it's very outside the box. And I think that's
absolutely.
exactly what we need right now.
And I feel like that's another thing. It's so many people think that therapy has to be because you're going through a crisis. I had someone say that to me the other day where it's like, I'm not really going through anything. It's like, okay, you don't have to be. It doesn't have to be something that's happening right now. You don't have to talk through your childhood. You don't have to have had big trauma. Maybe you're struggling to communicate with someone at work. Maybe you're
Mhm.
having some complications within your relationship. I've had couples come to me because their relationship's great, but they just want to connect differently. So it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be something's wrong. Let's go to counseling. Let's go to therapy. Sometimes it can be lighter than that. Yeah, of course, you know, one of my specialties is working with trauma. I'm really good at it. But that doesn't mean that every single one of the sessions with that person is trauma based.
Yeah.
And this is why this is so beautiful.
Hmm.
And the whole idea is to basically all of us, we're trying to get ourselves out of business, right? I don't want you to have to come to me forever. Some people might have to. Some people, like I'm mandated based off of my registration that I have to go to 8 sessions a year.
Hmm.
So I'll always have to go.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But it's one of those things where utilize the resource, utilize the tool, because maybe you're looking at it one way and maybe we can help you see it another. And that's just what you can use that service for.
Totally. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Like while you're on this, journey of learning yourself, it's
Mhm.
nice to have someone to check in with every once in a while. It's
Yeah.
nice to have a soundboard. It's nice to
Mhm.
talk through things.
Yeah.
It's nice to just like have a conversation about what's going on in your head, just to
Mhm.
get it out somewhere where it's a safe person and it's confidential. And I think, I love what I do and I loved who I could help. And that's why I wanted to expand Tideline Wellness is I wanted to bring on a team of people that were genuinely incredible humans. Like every single one of the people that are on my team, I absolutely love and appreciate so deeply.
Mm.
And it hasn't been the most smooth sailing. It's been an incredibly rocky road, right? Because it went from everybody being virtual to you having it to be online,
Oh,
to,
yeah.
you
So
know,
much change.
figure
Yeah.
out what works for everybody. I think there's a lot of people who are still afraid of virtual counseling.
Mm.
Like, oh, I don't really have the connection with the person. And I think then you're missing some of the point,
Mhm.
which is we're there to support.
And whatever need they need.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't leave the house
Yeah.
for a while. Maybe they don't want to.
The number of times where I've just popped in headphones and done therapy while I'm going on a walk.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's
I think
nice.
it's really forward thinking, and I think this is exactly what we need. I think there's many countries. I mean, you have family in Switzerland, like European, Eastern European is so advanced when it comes
Yeah,
to mental health that I think we're
100%.
very behind.
Yeah.
Very behind, and I think we're slowly catching up,
Mm.
but it's gonna take time, and it's gonna take innovative brains to think outside the box to get us all talking about it in different ways. That's very healthy, and for those people that maybe like, "I never went about therapy ever," sounds dumb. It could be an older generational
Yeah.
stigma that maybe is happening, right?
And you know what? I think that's a big piece of this is there is still a lot of stigma around it where people are like, oh, like, what are they going to know? Or like, what do I have to talk
Yeah.
about? You talk about whatever the heck you want.
Or are they asking me questions that are gonna guide me
Mhm.
into their belief?
And again, it has to be the right therapist.
Yeah.
I have heard of some genuinely terrible therapists. But that's the thing. If that's why we get the consult. If
Yeah.
you're nervous about the experience, just talk to me.
Mhm.
Have a 15-minute, it's free. That's the
Mhm.
point.
Yeah.
It's to make sure that we're a good fit. And you'll hear it. There's a lot of people like, oh, yeah, I could talk to her. No, not the right person.
Yeah.
So give it a shot. See if
Mhm.
you like it. If you don't, great.
Totally
but
fine.
try.
You're not stuck.
No.
You're not stuck.
And
This is a great theme.
we're not mad at you
Yeah.
if you don't like us.
So that's the Canadian in us.
Yeah.
Okay, we always are so worried about what other people think. Am I doing therapy wrong?
No, you're not. And
That's so funny.
And I think the other piece is, with the coverage that people have, we're covered. There's some plans that don't like us very much, but that's some plans. But
Mhm.
it's like maybe all I have to do is give a phone call. So I think that's another thing. It's like even if you don't have benefits or you're not covered, if you go once a month and that you can make that a priority, it's like you're going to spend that on something else. Why not this? To support you, especially if it's like if you go in to me and you say, "Hey, I have the ability to afford 3 sessions over the next like 3 months.
Yeah.
I'd really like to work on this, this, and this." I can then come prepared with a plan to
Mhm.
help you get those things, to provide tools to do that
Do
with.
it. Yeah.
And I think that's another thing. It's like if you want to go deeper, you want to explore this or you want to do that, let me know. Let your
Mhm.
therapist know. We want to help you and we want to be there in the way that you want us to be there as well. I don't have a magic wand. I wish I did. I charge so much more if I did. But it's like I'm like your fairy godmother that
Yeah.
just like hangs out. I do get kind of worried though when people are like I'm their voice in their head. Because I really want to know like, is it accurate? Would I actually
do I
say
sound?
that?
Yeah. Is this your voice
Is
that's just
this
mimicking my?
I know.
Yeah.
Usually it is something that I would say. So I'm like, okay, good. I've done my job.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. On repeat, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
Oh, I
it's
love
good.
it. It's amazing. Well, congratulations on the new Kelowna location. Where can everybody find you? Website, Instagram?
Yeah.
What's the best? It'll be in the show notes too.
Yeah, so it's www.tidelinewellness.com. If you're going to do a Kelowna appointment, then you can just do Tideline Wellness Kelowna or Tideline Wellness Penticton. And then, book online. You can look through the booking system, see the locations. We've got the Instagram, which is just at Tideline Wellness.
Perfect.
And then you could also just follow my Instagram, which is the nmacdonald.co. So I talk more about kind of my personal experience in life, and it's got a little bit more of me, where the Tideline is a little more of the business stuff. So you can actually see my travels on the other. And so that's kind of the two places that you can find me.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I think this has been a super eye-opening. I've got some great tips and reminders, I think, is the key. So whether you're a seasoned traveler, you're just starting out, you just want to book a trip anywhere, go on a road trip, I think this has been super beneficial.
Well,
So
thank you so much
you.
for having me. I hope everybody just tries just one small thing.
Mm.
One small thing, get out of your comfort zone. I feel like new equals death in the brain, right?
Mhm.
But what we have to recognize is that fear is actually resistance. So if we can break through that resistance and we can try, you learn, oh, I can do that. Oh, I can
Absolutely.
do a hard thing.
Yeah.
And then you just keep going
I
there.
keep daring to.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mm.
Daring to travel, you got it. Thank you. I'm so excited to see what is next to come, and we'll definitely follow along. If you like this episode, please subscribe, download a few more, and leave a review. I really would love to hear from you, what you enjoyed and what your key takeaways were. And of course, please let me know if there's any aspect of the travel industry you want me to talk about next. I hope you enjoy your day, stay so well, and until next time, fly straight.